we got a lot to cover. So, topic of the show: it is the biggest leak in video game history, in Xbox history, in history of the universe. Xbox have messed up. They sent the wrong. They sent a document to the FTC and they didn't redact any of their information. So they've basically given us all the information of what Xbox plans are for the next 5 years until 2028. We got a lot to cover, so there's loads of stuff here. The Xbox leak is insane. I think the first thing we should cover is...
well, what happened is...
go ahead.
Shortly after the FTC case, apparently the FTC has been doing the document, and now they just got the system sorted out, so they uploaded the document, and then the document has been leaked out, and it's been a huge talk for quite some time. And it just reveals the likes of consoles, games, and even figures as well. And I think, a lot of stuff. And this even leads to Phil Spencer being disappointed about the leak. So
so that's what I was going to start off with this. So Phil Spencer's basically set out a tweet saying he's disappointed about the leak. He says the information on the slides are a bit out of date, and they were looking forward to showing the updated plans when they are ready. So essentially, he's covering his ass, which is like fair. Like obviously, not all of it's going to be the same. Some of it might have changed. Like, are we still going to get an all digital console? Are we still getting all these games that he's announced? Like some of them might have been cancelled, some new games might have been added. You don't know. So there is still some stuff, but the fact that we've got like this was all official documents from 2020-ish. So these are all real. A lot, and a lot of these plans are probably going to still be the same. So it's interesting to see. But yeah, it is sad for Phil Spencer and his team. But it's good for us because we talk about Xbox, so we've got lots to talk about. So up first, we have a brand new console, the X Cylinder, the X Tube. It's an Xbox, but it's a tube shape. Looks kind of like Amazon Alexa or like an air purifier or something. I like the shape. It's cool. I think it looks nice.
Wait,
what do you think?
Just wait, because I'm just trying to bring this up. So, wait a minute. That looks massive here. If I just squeeze that in, yeah, I'm just not a fan of like how the software deals with it. But anyway. So this right here, this console here is known as a brand new Xbox Series X, which is turned from a cube, well, a rectangle. Actually, is it the
cuboid
box?
Is it cuboid?
Yeah, something like that. And it's just for the reason that, well, actually, I'm going to be honest, this does look like a Wi-Fi mesh.
I still like it. I think it looks cool. I like the new design. The as I said, it looks like like an Amazon speaker or something. But I'm cool with it. I think it's a nice little design.
There's a way of putting it. So basically,
the only problem I have with it is that I have my Xbox on its side. So if I bought this one, it would just roll away. Like I can't. I don't think I can put it on its side anymore, which is really off-putting. I need to find space for it if I get the new one.
Well,
which I probably won't. I'll probably stick to what I got. To be honest,
I don't think this is something that is going to be an essential purchase, because according to this picture here, if it's going to be true for like if it's going to be true that this is what we're going to get next year, because it's slated for October the 2024, it says here that Brooklyn, codename for it, will deliver 4K Gen 9 console gaming with more internal storage, faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, a more immersive controller, and a beautiful redesign that elevates the all-digital experience of the Xbox ecosystem. Giving our fans more to love, beautiful and innovative new design, more internal storage for games, and USB-C front port with power delivery, all new, more immersive controller, and is all sold for the same great price. Then there's updated technologies, which is all new Southbridge to modernize I/O and sustainability efforts. And it also comes with Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2, as well as a 6mm die sync for improved efficiency. I think it's referring to the CPU. But it has improved sustainability, which reduces PSU power by 15%. A new low power standby mode is 20% of the current XSS standby mode. It has an increased use of PCR and housing to 30%, as well as 100% recyclable packaging.
It's a lot to cover, yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing that people will notice as consumers is the biggest change between the two, between the cuboid and the cylinder, the old X and the new X, is that the original X has a disk drive. The new one doesn't have a disk drive, but has an additional terabyte of storage. It's like, do you want to spend the same? You got the same amount of money. Do you want to get a disk drive, or do you want an extra terabyte? That's basically the trade-off here. I mainly play stuff digital, but I still like to have a disk drive, honestly. So I don't think I would change to the new Xbox. Also, I like to have, as I said, I like to have my Xbox on its side. So having a cylindrical one seems a bit strange to me. But I think it's a cool little console. I think if you're a digital only person and you don't care about discs, I think it's a worthwhile investment. What do you think?
Well, my only disappointment is that I don't think it's likely to improve on how you can get performance on it. Like, people have been like asking for the Xbox Series X with improved internals, because if you
like a Pro.
if you look at like Xbox One, you get like the quintessential Xbox One system, and then you have Xbox One X, which is originally called Project Scorpio, which has 4K resolution, meaning it has better internals. But this one is just pretty much a bona fide Xbox Series X, which does the same performance, only like more sustainability. So we're just talking about like an Xbox 360 Slim, only it's turned into a cylinder of sorts.
Yeah, it's just like a slim. It's essentially a slim version of the Xbox One, and it hasn't got the Xbox Series X, even not the Xbox One, but it also doesn't have a disc drive, which is like, I mean, we've had this discussion about digital versus physical for a long time. I'm a huge fan of digital. I'm Game Pass obsessed. I have most of my games digitally, but I still like the idea. I don't like the idea of having no disc drive and not being having the option. Like, there's always nice to have the option to buy a game cheap secondhand or to play all my Xbox 360 games, you know? So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about having no option for a disc drive going forward. But I think this proves that Xbox is going all digital going forward. There's going to be no option for a disc drive by looks of things. Like, if this is the new X, the new S is... And obviously you've got a new S, which also doesn't have a disc drive. So that means the physical games are dying on Xbox. It's no longer going to be a thing.
Well, actually, it's just Microsoft assumed that in this document they say that the people are excited for the digital only future and and they don't miss the disk drives. And I think this is a bit preposterous, because people still rely on the disk drives. It's just assuming like, if you want to play Blu-rays, get a disc, or just switch to Netflix. And let me look at all the DVD and Blu-ray collections. Are you just saying like as if they're useless unless we get a Blu-ray disc drive?
I think the thing is, like, I have a lot of Blu-ray films, and I know a lot of people. There's some people who do have a lot of Blu-ray films, but then I feel like the casual market, the majority of people would just watch stuff on Netflix and Disney Plus and stuff. And like, a lot of people have accepted the digital future. I think a lot of people don't buy DVDs or Blu-rays anymore, and I think a lot of people don't buy video games physically anymore either. It's like the same kind of thing. But it's nice to have the option, and I think it's going to be a shame that the option's no longer going to be a thing. I think I'll be fine. I haven't bought many physical games for this console. I think Resident Evil 4, Cyberpunk, Yakuza, because it was cheap. And Elden Ring. So there's 4 games I've bought physically on this console. The rest are all digital.
Bear in mind that you have people who don't have internet or have terrible internet connections, which means they may not be able to benefit from this unless they download huge games, which are getting bigger than like 30 gigabytes. Because 10 years ago, games are not that huge, and some internet connections has a bandwidth, I think a download limit of 40 gigabytes. I mean, with that in mind, you now cannot get Starfield on digital, or even like download like more than one game to put on your system. So just imagine this.
I mean, the counterpoint to that is that you get games like Halo Infinite, which is just a disc, and it doesn't even have the game on the disc. It's just you have to download the game anyway. So what's the point? Like they're not even putting the games on the disc anymore. So it's like, what's even the point of owning it physically at that point? It's frustrating though. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think it'll affect me too much because, as I said, I'm mainly a digital owner anyway. But I could see it being very frustrating to a lot of people who want to keep physical collections for sure. I'm hoping there's going to be some kind of like disk drive connection, like you could buy an internal disk drive, like the PS5 is rumored to have one as well. It would be cumbersome, but for people who really want discs, it's nice to have. It would be nice to have that option, you know. But we'll see. And
also, bear in mind, it relies more on like USB-C, and I think it's convenient for when you charge up controllers. But I don't know what it means for USB devices because I still use USB devices on it, but it's just now going to push over to USB-C storage plugs to put into it. So
also, I was also going to mention the fact that in the UK, we had a news article about this a couple of weeks ago. The Tesco are no longer going to be selling physical games, and GameStop is closing down, or what's called Game Station over here, or Game. A lot of games are closing around here. So basically, no one you can't really buy physical games very like it's a lot harder to buy physical games in the UK than it used to be. So I do feel like we are moving to a digital future, if we like it or not, unfortunately. So yeah, sadly. Should we talk about this new controller?
Well, actually, we also need to talk about Xbox Series S. So do you reckon it's going to look better?
It looks exactly the same as the Series X, Series S already. I mean, it's like slightly improved. It's like faster internal stuff. So the internal, you won't notice anything from the outside. It reminds me of when they released the new Switch model, which had better battery, but it looked exactly the same. It's exactly the same thing. It's just better internals and probably cheaper for them to manufacture. But apart from that, it's pretty much going to be the same, I'd imagine.
Well,
I can't see any difference.
It has all the benefits of the new Xbox Series X, and now it's just got like a USB-C on the front instead of a USB-A, and it's got 1 terabyte, which is the same for 1 terabyte black Xbox Series S. And this is where I'm like really disappointed because it just seems as if Microsoft hasn't got round to improve the technologies. Like, they can squeeze all the 4K technology from Xbox Series X and fit it into this system here, which kind of like makes the Xbox Series S redundant, but it certainly helps because you have 4K coming out from this box, which I cannot take it out at the moment, but it's definitely like really small, and it's almost as if you can stack like a bunch of CDs together and you get a whole console. So, and I was hoping like if you can get the 4K support out of this box and is just as powerful as Xbox Series X, that will be an Xbox Series S you can buy, and that would be so good. And it does look like it's going to be 1 terabyte Xbox Series S, only it's more sustainable and has better technologies. Not much.
The good stuff about it, though, is they were saying that on Black Friday and stuff, they're going to sell the old Series S, the current Series S, at a reduced price of like $100 cheaper than it was. So if you've been holding out for a Series S, this is the time to get it. You're going to be able to get one super cheap. The older models, like the current models, you're going to be able to get them super cheap Black Friday and stuff. Also, they did say that they're going to be releasing the new Series S about 3 months before the new Series X, I believe. So they has a couple of months of shine, so it can shine. Be fabulous.
Yes, so both of these systems. This will be released during summer or in September, while the new Xbox Series X will be coming around October. But as Phil Spencer said, these plans are outdated. It could improve, but I expect this to be more like for Xbox Series S to be like a Xbox. No, it's like the improved Nintendo Switch, whereas Xbox Series X is going to be more like, how do I put it? Comparing this with the old Series X, it's like comparing the third iteration of PlayStation 3 to the same PlayStation 3. So
Yeah, that's
PlayStation
fair.
3 is amazing. Then they have to switch over to the one where you slide the disc thing, and it's a bit
Well,
more.
yeah, that was horrible. That one.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember that one. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to think. I'm interested in it. I don't think I'm going to buy it, but it's an interesting little thing. It's not going to be more powerful or anything like that. So it's not a pro. It's more like a slim model, really. It's just a different design to try and, yeah. Also, on the notes as well, they did mention Xbox Design Labs, or XDL as they put it on there. So they should be able to get custom consoles as well, which would be interesting.
That's crazy.
Considering that they've just released the wraps, I think, like, for the consoles, I think it's a bit strange to be having like Design Labs consoles, but hey, you never know. It just did. Should we talk about the controller?
Yes. So I got the
It has
controller up
pads.
here. So what it does is Sebile, which is the code name of the new Xbox controller. It is designed to be like for cloud gaming. So it has the Play Anywhere, which offers Xbox Wireless 2, direct to cloud. I don't know what that is. Bluetooth 5.2, and it does have a seamless pair and switch, which also comes to the works with the mobile app, which lets you customize it to your heart's content. You can also, it also has a haptic feedback, and it also contains some like speakers and improved accelerometer, but it also comes with like quieter buttons and thumbsticks. Thumbsticks in this case that it should be modular, so it looks as if you can like change them. But it's supposed to be improved for extra longevity. But there's a battery in it which can be swapped out and recharged, as well as some recycled materials for it. And it has like the same ergonomics as Merlin, which I assume is a previous controller. And it does look as if,
Wearing trousers.
It does look as if the bottom of it is just got a rubber type feel to it. But I think, to be honest, it's just trying to emulate the Dualsense I a bit too literally.
Yeah, I hate that. Ugh. Yeah, so it looks like it's wearing trousers or pants, as the Americans would call it. As I was listening to one of the podcasts, and they said they want to have a custom one where it's like a brown bottom and yellow top, so it looks like SpongeBob. I would totally buy that controller. But anyway, yeah, I don't know how I feel about the new controller. I feel like I'm one of the few people who does not give a shit about haptics. Like, I got the PS5 controller, and I just don't care about the haptic. If anything, I find it annoying. Like, especially when the triggers lock into place. Like, you're playing a game, and you're like trying to shoot, and it's like you feel like you've. It's like, is my controller broken? Oh no, that's part of the game. Like, it feels like the controller's broken to me when I'm like playing God of War, and you've got to pull a boulder apart, and you literally can't move the triggers. Bloody annoying. Anyway, I don't want that on my Xbox controller. I'm quite happy with this. I don't need all the haptic crap. I'm not a fan of haptics at all. Yeah, it does look like they basically stole all the stuff from the PS5 though. It's got built-in speakers, it's got haptics, it's got all that crap. I do think this is the superior controller. And I know that's an Xbox fanboy thing to say, but it's true. I don't like my PS5 controller, really. I don't care about haptics or the triggers or any of that stuff. So I'm a bit annoyed by Xbox and they're copying them. But hey, that's the future, I guess. Oh, and it's got gyro as well. I hate gyro. I hate gyro. Like, I'm playing Legend of Zelda or something, and I'm trying to line up a shot with a bow and arrow, and I'm forgetting this gyro on, and I go, whoa! And I miss every time. So I always turn the gyro off every time. I hate it. I hate gyro. So I know I'm in the minority. I know most people love that stuff, but I hate it personally, and I prefer the controller the way it is myself. But
yeah. Well,
I'm old man yelling at cloud.
Well, there's a couple of things that just kind of bother me. Like, the middle button, I don't know if it's a shared one, but if it's supposed to be a multifunctional button there, then, like, it's just weird. Also, that there's a very glossy white panel there, and I think this is kind of makes it look a bit cheap, and also it's likely to have more, like, sweat marks on it. So
I never thought of that. Yeah, you're right, glossy. Also, it's got lift to wake technology, whatever that means. I feel like I accidentally turn my Xbox on enough as it is, so the fact that it's got a controller, if I move the controller slightly, it'll just turn itself on. It's like, oh, that's annoying. Like I'll be like just watching something or like talking to someone, and I'll knock the controller off my sideboard or something. You'll just like, bloop, oh, goes the Xbox. Like, no, I didn't want to turn the Xbox. I'll leave it. Don't go on now.
It's also a bit of a nuisance there because let's say if you're moving between flats or university places and you want to move the new Xbox out with the new controller.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because if you package your controller, it will keep like turning on when you move around, and it's just like you're just going to end up like replacing the battery in this, or just take it out.
So you can, I'd take the battery out. I would,
yeah.
I would recommend doing that, but it's still annoying. I'm happy with. I'm like as I said before. This is my favorite. One of my favorite controllers I've ever bought.
But also
and I don't want to replace it with the pants. The pants one.
But also that there's Xbox is looking to like have a system where you can like pair this with the system without having to leave the couch. So I think to me, it's just trying to make it as convenient for people, which kind of makes it whole process to be much lazier. When everything to do with the Xbox controller is just absolutely fine. I mean,
well,
there's a couple of things that would actually make the Xbox controller better. I don't know about haptic feedback, but the HD rumble that Nintendo Switch has, that would have been more useful for the Xbox controller. But I also think they should include a speaker on it, because if you have a controller that plays speaker like in the DualShock 4 or even like the Nintendo's Wii, I think it's just like adds to the fun immersion. Because I was playing Infinite Second Son, where you just absorb materials. It just kind of plays the power up sound from the controller, which is like quite cool.
I think they said the haptic controller does do that. I think it says it plays sound through the haptic controller. I don't know how it works, but it uses the vibrations to make sound. I think that's what it says, which seems a bit weird, but I think it does say that. They're built-in microphone as well, which is also, or maybe I misread that, but I think that's what it said. But I'm happy with the Xbox controller the way it is, but there you go. I'm an old man, so whatever. I don't like change. Okay, so you put down here handheld rumors. So there was a slide saying the things they could be making in the future, but it looks like they haven't got the funding for the handheld. It looks like that's not something they're actually going to proceed on, but it's interesting that they have considered it, which would be really cool. I would love an Xbox handheld for sure, even if it's just a cloud device similar to the PlayStation Portal, but where you can actually use all cloud games and not have to have an Xbox to connect it to. Oh, I forgot to mention, sorry. I was going to mention with the controller, you said about cloud connection or connected to the cloud, right? Yeah. So I think that means that, like, if you've got, like, you could basically get an app on your phone or an app on your TV and just connect it to that, and it's just going to connect like, essentially, instead of having a dongle or whatever for your, or even the keystone, I think the controller will be the keystone, basically. Your controller will be your access point to the cloud services. So I don't know, like, it's similar to what they did with Stadia, apparently. I've never used Stadia, but from what I've heard, similar to what Stadia does. So you just need the controller to play online.
There's already apps out there from Xbox, which you can play on like certain Samsung TVs, and you can even get it on like some devices. So it seems as if Microsoft is trying to roll it out, that you're not only restricted to the Xbox or PC, you can also do it for the app that just basically stream from the whole game. So that's what they're aiming to do with it.
So yeah, handheld. Are you interested in the handheld? I think it'd be a cool idea, but it doesn't look like it's happening.
I would prefer a smaller handheld, but I just hope that Microsoft doesn't make it really close to Asus Ally or the Logitech Cloud device, because both of them already does a job of like playing Xbox games on it. So that's pretty much enough. True. So if they're going to bring out the Xbox handheld, then they're going to make it really small as a Game Boy Advance or the Game Boy Micro. That
I would love that. Maybe not a Micro. That's a Game Boy Advance color. The size would be pretty nice, actually. Micro, maybe not. That's a bit too small for me. That's like that big, isn't it? But no, yeah, I would like a new handheld console for the Xbox. I think that'd be pretty sweet. I would love to see that. And the PlayStation Portal has put me off the idea a little bit, because that was awful what PlayStation have done with theirs. So we'll see.
It's just like you split the Dualsense controller into two and stick a cheap tablet you can get from Tesco. It just reminds me of a Asus or Google Slate or some sort. Like you get one of those cheap tablets and you can stick it between both controllers.
Well, I've got £100 tablet that I bought from Amazon, and I got an Xbox controller that I'm not using anymore, and I just use that. It's exactly the same thing. I do that in my office when I'm not working. So I just got a spare Xbox essentially. Interesting. We'll see how it goes. Right, now this is the big news, I think. We got a lot of games that have just been announced or big leaked. Oblivion remake, Fallout 3 remake, Ghostwire Tokyo 2, Dishonored 3, and Doom Day 0. I think the most important thing to mention when it comes to Ghostwire Tokyo 2 is this was announced before Ghostwire 1 was released, I believe. Like this slide was put up on there. It was like 2020, I believe. So they didn't know how successful Ghostwire 1 was going to be. So Ghostwire 2 might not actually be a thing. It might just be like the placeholder. They're like, oh, we'll do Ghostwire 2 because Ghostwire 1's obviously going to be successful, and maybe it didn't do that well, so maybe it might not be a thing anymore. I don't know. That's the only thing I want to bring up before we get into real detail when it comes to this. But I'm excited for an Oblivion remaster. I never liked Oblivion because I thought it was a bit uncanny valley. I'm hoping that they got new voice actors in and they can like redo their lines and stuff. That was like the thing I didn't like about it.
Expectations for it.
I hope so. I never liked Oblivion because I thought the characters were just weird and creepy, and I thought like it was the same voice actor doing every single role. Skyrim was the first one I really got into, so I'm hoping that they like revamp Oblivion. I would totally play it if they do, because I've heard the story's great and the gameplay's fun, and I'm excited for it. What do you think?
I was introduced to Elder Scrolls through Oblivion, and I played a lot of it, but it's pretty much uncanny, and the camera like goes zooming into the characters' faces. But
criminal scum.
I just hope that Oblivion gets remade with a creation engine that not with like the Skyrim SSX, but also like use what they made for Starfield and apply it to Oblivion. Because I do find the interface and all these bits seems to be really good for like Oblivion, because Oblivion has got a lot of bad design choices. I mean, this was his opportunity to improve the UI for Starfield, and they haven't quite got there. But I think this is what you're probably expecting from like not only like the Oblivion remaster, but also the Fallout 3 remaster. I think I'm most likely to see the remaster of Fallout 3 because I think this is like a much bigger franchise for them. And I only like played for a few hours on Fallout 3 on the PC, and that's it. I got it on Steam anyway. But
me too.
But I think I would rather play Fallout New Vegas than like go through Fallout 3 again. So, but I think the chances are is that Fallout 3 and Oblivion could be remade in the creation engine, improve the models, and have what they learned from the Starfield. So I think this is pretty much the whole case for it.
I think it's good because obviously Todd Howard's gone like, okay, so our next game is going to be Elder Scrolls, and that's going to come out in 2028, 2029, 2030. And then our next game after that's going to be Fallout 5, and that's going to come out 2036, 2037, 2038. It's like, yeah, we got a while to wait. So it's good that we're going to hopefully we're getting the next gen update of Fallout 4. We're going to still get expansions for Fallout 76. And then we hopefully get Fallout 3 remastered next year or the year after. I think that's pretty cool. That it keeps the Fallout fans happy and keeps them busy until Fallout 5 comes out. I think that's a good plan.
Well,
and then also Elder Scrolls fans will be busy with Oblivion.
Well, the closest thing you ever get to Fallout 5 is by playing Starfield, because it kind of plays like Fallout 5.
Oh, yeah. It does. It does. I think it is very similar to Fallout, and I enjoy it for that. Also, I thought it was interesting that if we get an Oblivion remake next year, it's going to be the same year as Avowed. So we're going to be kind of a bit overkill with the fantasy RPG, first-person RPGs there, I think. And I think Avowed, looks more interesting than Oblivion, because Oblivion's an old game that's just getting revamped. Personally, I'm more excited for Avowed, but it'd be cool to play both. Yeah, I'm really excited for some remakes of those games because I'm now. I've always liked Bethesda. I've always thought they were really good. I thought Skyrim was great and all that, but I never got that far into it. I think I'm really a dedicated Bethesda fan now after Starfield. I think Starfield has got me hooked now. I think Starfield is my favorite Bethesda game, and I'm thinking as soon as I've spent like 6,000 hours in Starfield and I've done New Game Plus 20 times, as soon as I've literally got everything out of it, I'm very excited to play all these new old Bethesda games. I'm really looking forward to playing Fallout 4. That's going to be remastered soon, so I'm looking forward to that. But playing these remakes, I'm very excited to try Oblivion out again with hopefully less Uncanny Valley stuff, with less stop criminal scum. I get to see where the Adoring Fan comes from. Yay! His origin story. Yeah, are you interested in Ghostwire Tokyo 2?
I haven't thought about it. I only played Ghostwire for about 30 minutes, just for the gameplay video, and then I haven't touched it again.
It was all right for what I played. I didn't play much of it. I want to go back to it. I think I will go back to it if Ghostwire Tokyo 2 gets announced. I might go back and play the first one again and try and get get my full experience out. There's so much to play. Oh my god, Dishonored 3 is exciting. But on the other hand, it's Arcane, and Arcane just released Redfall, which was dreadful.
Yes,
and Redfall. I'm hoping that this is going to be a return of form for them. I really do.
I hope so too.
I'm hoping the Redfall was their Fallout 76, and this is going to be their Starfield. I hope. Fingers crossed. And then Doom Day One. Is this a reboot of Doom? Like it's a start, a new series of Doom, like Day One. That sounds like a Mortal Kombat 1 kind of thing. Like they're recutting the story. What you think?
Well, I was kind of expecting the second sequel to the 2016 Doom. So
yeah.
Day Zero could be refers to a emergence situation and not like an absolute remake. But if they have to remake Doom again, then they just kind of feels like a cop out of Doom 2016. So hopefully they're not going to reboot it again, because I do like what they did with the Doom 2016. I think the Doom Eternal is just it's alright. I think it's just kind of.
I like the Eternal.
Yeah.
I prefer the Eternal to 2016 myself, but I know I'm in the minority with that. I'm looking forward to some more Doom. I'm a bit disappointed there's no Wolfenstein on there, though. There was no Wolfenstein on the list or anything like that, which is a bit disappointing.
It did mention Wolfenstein as a franchise, but not as an actual game. But they also mentioned Indiana Jones on it too. So I don't know whether that's going to be still continuing or not.
Yeah, they said Indiana Jones is going to... Well, Todd Howard in a recent interview said that he will talk more about Indiana Jones next year. So I'm assuming it's coming out next year or early 2025. So that's something to look forward to. Okay, so those are the leaked games. Phil Spencer wanted to buy Nintendo. Like, no shit. I don't think this is a newsworthy article to me, because people are really reading into this, but it's just hey Phil, it's hey guys, would you like to date a supermodel? Yeah, I guess so. Or would you like £1 million? Yeah, of course. Would you would you like to sign LeBron James to your basketball team? Would you like to sign Messi or Ronaldo to your football team? It's it's Nintendo. Of course you want Nintendo. Who wouldn't want Nintendo? That's what I don't understand. It's such an obvious thing. Everyone would bloody want Nintendo. What do you think?
What I think to me is that Nintendo is probably not likely to be open to this offer, but they still have a partnership with Microsoft, so they already going through with it. But I think it just seems as if Phil, if he ever buys Nintendo, it will really turns Microsoft into a huge monopoly of game companies.
Oh yeah,
and this will actually change the entire games industry. But I think, to be honest, I think that Phil will have far better chances of buying Sega instead of Nintendo.
We always talk about how much we want Sega and the Xbox full. I would. Part of me would love Nintendo to be on Xbox, because I would love to have Game Pass and have all the Nintendo games. I wouldn't have to pay for them. But I think Nintendo needs to stay independent. I think we need that competition. I don't think I'll be happy with it really, but he said like basically this email. I haven't read the. I don't read it word for word. But I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he goes, "Yeah, we would love to have Nintendo. Why wouldn't we? Like, of course we would, but it's not likely to happen because they're sat on a pile of money and they want to stay independent, so there's not likely to happen. But if the occasion ever rises, sure, we'll buy Nintendo, and it's the same with Valve as well. He said the same thing with Valve. So if either of those companies come up for sale, expect Microsoft to make a bid, but they're not likely to go up for sale anytime soon because they're both doing very well. If the Switch 2 is a massive flop, then maybe we might see Nintendo go into Xbox, but at the moment, no. Also, I thought it was interesting, this email was in 2020, just after Animal Crossing came out, which was like basically peak Nintendo. That was like Nintendo in their prime. That was when they're like super successful and you couldn't get a Switch to save your life. So the fact that, of course, you would want Nintendo at that point, Jesus.
Well, also that Phil's looking to get Valve, but I think to me I think it's better that Phil should be working with Valve because I think Valve wants Game Pass to come to Steam. So it's just so weird for Microsoft to say, I don't want to put Game Pass on there and prefer to like stick it on the Microsoft storefront. But they would rather like buy Valve instead. And it's just like, I mean, come on. Can you just at least like agree to put Game Pass games on the Steam? Because Steam is pretty much considered to be a much better storefront compared to the Microsoft Windows Store.
Everyone loves Steam. That's the thing. Like Steam is the quintessential PC like marketplace. I'd be interested to see if they did. I feel like that would make Xbox kind of a monopoly when it comes to the PC space if they owned Valve. I mean, that would be a bit too much. The only competition would be like what, GOG and Epic Game Store and maybe Origin. Is Origin still a thing? I can't even remember. But yeah, it's like I don't think I would want as much as I want Xbox to expand and buy new companies, I wouldn't want them to buy Nintendo or Valve. I don't think personally. I think that's a bit of a bridge too far, really, when it comes to competition. But it would benefit us as Xbox gamers, I suppose. But it would be intriguing.
Well,
could you imagine
I think the fact that if Microsoft like trying to set a monopoly and even go as far as like buying Nintendo and Valve, I think it's just going to leave to a lot of squishy, and it just seems as if Microsoft is really greedy to like conquer as many gaming franchises as they possibly can, and trying to leave Sony in the dirt. Because if you think about it, like Nintendo is like a huge has an uncontested position and has no one else to compete against them, and even Sony couldn't be able to do well against them. So just imagine, like, you go in the whole place and then the only thing you can get to play games is by getting an Xbox because all the other competitors are being bought up. So I think this is a matter of a bit of a concern, even though the Microsoft's Xbox is now trailing behind, like, Switch and as well as, like, PlayStation 5. So it just seems as if Xbox really wants to give them a piggyback just to get to the first position. It's crazy. I
think obviously it would put Xbox in an enviable position. If they had Nintendo and Valve, they would be literally unstoppable, really. But it's like all of the Infinity Stones. They have all the power. No, I also thought it was interesting. This, if you read this email, they also mentioned Warner Brothers and ZeniMax. And ZeniMax they actually own now. This is before they purchased ZeniMax. They mentioned how this would double their portfolio if they did that, which they have. And they said Warner Brothers would be a great purchase for them, but they wouldn't get the IP with it, so they don't see the point, really. So they wouldn't get back. Hi, doggy! My dog decided to attack me. They wouldn't get Batman, basically, so... yeah, this is my dog. She's 14. She's a bit loony. You're a bit loony? Yeah.
Oh,
anyway. Whoa. But yeah, what were you saying? Yeah, ZeniMax. They've bought ZeniMax now. This is before they bought ZeniMax, so this is like a couple of years ago. And I as I said, like, who wouldn't want Nintendo in their portfolio? If Sony had the opportunity to buy Nintendo, they would. If Amazon or Tencent or any of them wanted to buy it, of course they would. Like, Nintendo is like the crown jewel in the gaming industry. It's like buying Disney, isn't it? It's like it is Nintendo has the IPs in gaming. Like, they are the kings of the IP when it comes to gaming. So yeah, I don't think it's a shocking email at all. I think it's pretty straightforward, and it's a bit of, people got a bad idea from it, but you know, I think if they buy Sega, I think they'll be good. That's what we want. I want Sega. Yeah. Anyway, back on topic. What else did we say? Oh, Phil Spencer came out and said he was happy when he saw the Sony presentation for the PS5. He was happy with the Xbox, thinking that we have a better product than Sony, and we have all the ingredients to win this generation, which was interesting, which I kind of agree with. I think the Xbox Series X is better than the PS5. But I would say that because I'm an Xbox fanboy, but I honestly do think the Xbox is better. I own both, and I prefer the Xbox, personally.
It does sound as if Phil is like... I think it just kind of sounds as if Phil would probably say... Like one of the characters from the show, it's like everything's all in place, and just like goes on to like take over everything in this gaming world.
Xbox being big evil, is it? Okay, we'll take over the world.
I think it's just it'll be worth 2 Spencers, really.
I think with this email, basically, he was saying he was worried about having a similar launch to the Xbox One, where essentially PlayStation undercut them by £100, and they had like the Kinect bundled in, and it was underpowered, and the PS4 was more overpowered. Like, he was worried that they wouldn't be on par with the PlayStation, and the fact that the PlayStation seemed slightly less powerful than the Xbox, who made him happy, because he was like, "Oh, good, we can compete this generation. We're not going to get demolished again by PS4." Because they did get completely destroyed in the last generation, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that they should be worried about PS5? I mean, PS5 has obviously been the dominant console this generation so far, but what do you think?
Well, they shouldn't really be too hung up about it and try to emulate it. Just focus on their Xbox, because eventually Sony's going to run out of games to release for the PlayStation 5.
Oh yeah, they already have. You've got Spider-Man, and that's it. my dog decided to knock the cables. I hope that's all right.
Sit down.
Foam Stars. You got Foam Stars, guys. Look forward to Foam Stars next year. Woohoo, Foam Stars! Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, well, so this ties in perfectly to the next email we're going to discuss. 2022 was a disaster for Phil Spencer. Said it is an absolute disaster that we've had to have a 16-month gap between Halo and the next AAA game, and the next AAA game was Redfall. So it's not even like it was a good 16-month game. Oh god! But this makes me feel like what PlayStation's at the moment. They're kind of having a bit of a dry spot. They're in a bit of a dry patch at the moment. Xbox was in a dry patch for 2022. We were on the podcast talking about it. We both enjoyed Grounded, and we both enjoyed. Well, we admit Pentament's a good game, but I never really got into it. But we didn't have any big games, I think, which is unfortunate. What do you think of 2022? I think it was a bit of a blunder.
Well, to me, I think the late 2022 is pretty much like pretty dry, because there hasn't been like any major games, even though you already have like sort of Flight Simulator, Grounded, and whatnot, and there's like Halo Infinite as well. So I think that it's pretty much like trying to go through the back catalogue. Whereas this year is like supposed to be big, but I think I find 2023 to be much worse. That apart from Hi-Fi Rush, that's huge, really huge. Because, but then you have like there's Minecraft Legends gets neglected pretty badly. There's a last case of Benjamin Fox of some sort, but there's Redfall that's turned into a dumpster fire. And now Starfield, which is supposed to be the system seller of the Xbox, ends up getting a Metacritic of less than 90, and now it's just been lambasted. But I think hopefully people will get around this whole launch shenanigans and enjoy the game for what it is. But it still leaves with the only Microsoft game to come out this October, and that will be Forza Motorsport. So it will be interesting to see how this really develops for 2023.
It's going to be interesting to see how Call of Duty does as well once Xbox gets their hands on it. But yeah, I was I really like Starfield. I don't care what the reviews say. I think Starfield is a once-in-a-generation kind of game. I think it is worth buying an Xbox for. If you're on the fence about buying an Xbox, if you're not an Xbox owner at the moment, I would recommend getting Starfield and getting an Xbox. I think it's worth it. I love it. So I think and there's some reviewers who don't like it, but I don't understand why they would give it a 4 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. I don't understand that logic. We've had the discussion multiple podcasts.
I think Starfield has already gotten to the point where it still has a few teething issues, and I can see why people would probably be better off like getting on Steam, especially have mods that improve the whole experience. So it's probably just there. But then, like, if you have an Xbox and Game Pass, Starfield's already ready for you to try on either Xbox or PC. So you're not pretty much missing out anyway if you're on Game Pass.
I think they're great games, personally. I love Starfield, but Forza's going to be great. And then hopefully next year we've got a really good lineup of games. There's a big lineup of games for next year, so there's hopefully we're not going to get this 16-month gap again like we did in 2022, which was disastrous. We were saying it at the time, it wasn't great. There was still games to look forward to, but it wasn't anything like major. We had like season 2 and 3 of Halo. We had Grounded. We had Pentiment. We had like some smaller stuff, but we didn't have anything like tentpole. Whereas next year we got a couple of tentpole games hopefully coming out. So fingers crossed.
Yes.
Okay. Xbox underestimated Baldur's Gate 3, and also have they leaked Red Dead Redemption 2 Xbox Series X port? Question mark. Ooh. Basically, they were looking at big Game Pass games to fill the gap of the Xbox portfolio. They said Baldur's Gate 3 was a second run game of a Stadia game, and they were only willing to spend £5 million on it on Game Pass, which is like much cheaper than they pay for most games on Game Pass. So essentially, they thought Baldur's Gate wasn't going to be worth the investment, which is a shame because everyone seems to love Baldur's Gate 3, and it seems to be the game of the year running. I haven't played it yet, but I've heard it's supposed to be good.
It's big on PC, and now it's like one of the games to buy for the PlayStation 5 this year, which is why it's a massive disappointment that it hasn't got over to Microsoft when the game launched, but people are still working on bring Baldur's Gate 3 over to Xbox, so watch the space. Also, it's interesting you brought up Red Dead Redemption. The only thing I saw out of that was the original Red Dead Redemption coming over as remastered, at least coming to the Switch. So it's interesting to see how they goes.
They were saying that they wanted to get a Red Dead Redemption 2 day one Game Pass deal. So what do they mean by day one? Do they mean a remake or like a Series X port, like a 4K 60 frames per second version of it? Like they re-released Grand Theft Auto 5 for the Xbox Series X, so I thought they might. Like the rumor is they might be doing the same for Xbox Series X, but it hasn't been announced yet. There's also the rumor that since they have the Grand Theft Auto trilogy was a bit of a flop, they kind of decided to pull back on remakes and re-releases for now because they messed up royally with the Grand Theft Auto trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. I just thought it was interesting. So you put this one in here. Microsoft now says all digital future is outdated. I didn't see this bit.
Well, actually, I think it's referring to Phil Spencer saying all plans are outdated.
Oh, the outdated plans. Oh, fair enough, yeah.
But
so, we've already discussed the all digital.
Yeah, so also that the next gen consoles could be tipped for 2018.
Yeah,
so
2028, yeah. So 5 years from now, we will be getting the next Xbox, whatever it's going to be called. And it looks like it's going to be... The main gimmick for it is it's going to be part cloud, part console. So basically, they're going to be using the cloud to do like some harder, like some like more crazy stuff, which I'm not super a fan of. I don't know. They were saying this about Crackdown 3 when they first announced Crackdown 3 like 10 years ago. They were saying that the cloud was going to do some of the like heavy lifting. it'd be interesting to see, but then also means like, what does that mean for old? Like when a game gets old, when the game's been out for like 2-3 years and the servers go down a year, they'll still be able to play it if it's like a console cloud hybrid game. You know what I mean?
Well, I think there's also like Microsoft Flight Simulator, which
That's one like
uses the cloud to bring the maps over to the game, and I think
that
it's
works
just like
well.
Microsoft would rather like rely on the cloud to deliver a lot of the work there. But I think, to be honest, it's like if Microsoft decides to switch over to cloud instead of like having consoles, then
Yeah.
I think this might be a drop-off point for me from games, because I like games where I can like put them on the console and play them. But if they're going to start like having to bring everything to cloud, then I had to leave, because I just feel like in the UK at the moment, internet connections and the broadband speeds, it hasn't got faster, it hasn't been spread out, and I'm still on a slow connection. Like, I know that people are like on 5G or in fiber to the premises things, and like, oh, we got faster internet. But so far, there's been a lot of disorganization to bring even faster speeds across the entire country. And I feel that once Microsoft's about to jump into this whole cloud hybrid train, then I think I could see UK like pretty much falling off the whole train there. And I think this is a very serious thing. I would rather have a console that has perfect ray tracing and play games without having to treat it as if it's the next Stadia.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a hybrid though, so I think there's still going to be a powerful console there. It's just they're going to do extra things with the cloud, or at least give the option to developers, which would be interesting. Also, they were saying that it's going to be more like a hub, I guess, so you can play games in different places. So it's like going to be more of like a Switch essentially. You can play it in different places and stuff. I don't know. It sounds interesting. I think this is still early development. This is like 5 years away. I think they might completely change plans by then anyway. So this is 5 years off. This is 2028. So, I mean, the internet infrastructure might have improved by then. We might have gone through nuclear apocalypse by then, and the world might have come to the end by 2028. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in 5 years' time? But the idea is a console that's going to be like use the power of the internet to like make it better. I don't know. It's going to be a bit more seamless. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I'm intrigued, but I'm happy with what we got at the moment. So that was we pretty much covered the entire leak here. There's more stuff in there, I'm sure. There'll probably be more coming out, but that's about as much as we really wanted to cover today.
So what's your closing thoughts on it?
It's sad that it's sad that it's been leaked, but I'm interested in like I think the future of Xbox looks bright. I think it looks really good. I'll be really interested to see what happens once we get the Activision deal done, and if they're going to try and approach anyone else. I'm interested in the new cylindrical Xbox. I think it looks cool, but I don't think I'm going to buy it because I've got a disc tray already. I'm
not impressed with the consoles and the controllers in this, because it just sounds as if they haven't done enough work on like the consoles and the controllers just to satisfy people, and it just seems like the controller is like trying to copy Dualsense I.
Which I'm not a fan of the Dualsense, to be honest.
And also, I think they're just like dealing with the games, and I think it's interesting, but Microsoft could have been a lot better. But also, if Zil says it's an outdated plan, then hopefully the feedback that comes for the leak would actually help him and the Xbox team to improve the plans, and hopefully we get something a lot better than what the document entails anyway.
What I feel like is also I've picked up from all these like leaked documents and stuff is in the podcast we'll say stuff like, Xbox should buy Sega. Why haven't they bought Sega? Or like stuff like, they should invest in Nintendo, blah, 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 blah. They have these exact discussions we've had in Xbox internally. We're not just privy to it. Like it's like obviously Phil Spencer knows what he's doing. I feel like everything we've said they should do, they have actually had discussions about in the past, which is interesting to me. I found that really fascinating. The biggest thing for me with this leak is I'm interested to play Fallout 3 Remastered and Oblivion Remastered. I think that'll be fun. As I said, I'm now a new converted Bethesda fanboy. I'm going to be totally into all their games going forward, I think. I'm very excited to try some more Bethesda games out, especially if they're nice and remastered and shiny and new. Like, ooh, pretty shiny. And I'm excited because they said they got more to announce that they haven't leaked, which is also very exciting. So, we're going to get some new Activision games, some new Blizzard games, and probably some first-party games as well that haven't been announced as well. So that's going to be exciting.
Thank you for listening to the X Marks the Box podcast. Follow us at xmarksbox on Twitter or X Marks the Box on YouTube. And follow us on all audio podcast services. Thanks for listening.